In the wake of WrestleMania 13, as audiences began to gravitate towards Stone Cold Steve Austin, a dark cloud began to form, separating the Hitman from fans south of the Canadian border.
First of all, I want to apologize to all my great fans in Canada.
For what?
And to you, my fans right here across the United States of America, I apologize for nothing. You take a gunless creep like Stone Cold Steve Austin and beat him to a bloody pulp, even though you all know that he lost. You cheer him on the way back to the dressing room like he won. You don't respect me. Well, the fact is, the American wrestling fans can kiss my ass.
Let me clear the air because I never, ever said I'd quit.
Austin never gave up!
You never got the job done.
As Bret Hart's relationship with the American fans continued to crumble,
Americans don't give a damn about family.
the Hitman would turn to his family to forge a new foundation.
I'm asking you for your help because I need you.
It would take more than numbers to rattle the rattlesnake.
I'm finished with you.
You'll have to kill me to be finished with me.
The only way I'm going to get Stone Cold Steve Austin off my back is to end his career.
Like a wolf!
One of these days, April 20th at In Your House, I'm gonna look down at your grave. Here lies Bret the Hitman Hart. Cause Steve Austin ripped his pink and black. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
Hello everyone and welcome to WretroMania. I'm your host, artist and entertainer from Baltimore, Maryland, Coby Nida, and I'm joined as always with my co-host,
Jimmy Price.
Yes indeed, and this is a podcast where we wrestle and romanticize with our wrestling fandom.
Yes, a look at the halcyon days.
Yes indeed.
I still don't know what that means.
No.
That sounds cool.
Sounds good. This is the origin of attitude. This is episode 3, essentially. We just finished up with Blood from a Stone, and that was the epic battle of WrestleMania 13 between Bret Hart and Shawn Micheals.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry. That's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Bret Hart and Stone Cold.
Yeah. End up with one of our favorite matches of all time, and it's definitely good to take a closer look at that one.
And it's an epic switch between heel and face.
The greatest double turn of all time.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to catch right up to it. Were you pleased with WrestleMania 13 as a child?
As a child, I was a little troubled by it. Just because of the heel turn with Bret. I was conflicted. I didn't know how to feel. Obviously, the crowd is starting to boo him full on now. The storyline is, shifted, and he's the bad guy. And this is the first time, that this guy who has been my favorite wrestler for my entire life is a bad guy now. So I didn't know how to feel. I didn't. I liked the show. I was 7 years old, so I wasn't looking at work rate,
right,
so to speak. But I remember it having an impact on me and walking away from it intrigued but a little conflicted.
The same goes for me. I was basically, I was glad he won, but I knew it wasn't like a direct victory, but it still was like, it was good for him.
Yeah, he didn't get old Stone Cold to give up,
and I actually felt the same sentiment as him about American culture. It was getting too risque and too violent in some ways.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff he starts to get into with the anti-American stuff was definitely resonating with me as a child, just because it was all new, it was all different, and it has some harsh critiques, but some that probably still ring true to this day.
Yes, indeed. So we're on the night right after WrestleMania, episode 202 of Raw is War. This is March 24th, 1997. Bret is in the ring. Let's listen to it.
The Hitman Bret Hart. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WWF champion, Bret the Hitman Hart. What are we gonna have here, big man? Why aren't you up there doing the interview, big man? Are you scared? Bret Hart requested. The only person I'd like to see Bret Hart hit is you, right in your big nose. Why don't you get up there? Go on. Get scared.
Not a lot to say. And he just took the microphone from JR. Perhaps the Hitman will apologize for his actions.
Fat chance.
First of all, I want to apologize.
What?
I'd like to apologize to all my fans over in Germany. I'd like to apologize to all my great fans over in Great Britain. Actually, I'd like to apologize to all my fans all over Europe, all over Japan and the Far East. I'd like to apologize to my fans in the Middle East, all the way as far down as South Africa. And I'd especially like to apologize to all my great fans in Canada.
For what?
Be quiet, please.
And to you, my fans right here across the United States of America. To you, I apologize for nothing. You know, it seems really strange to me that no matter how much I try, that when I beat Stone Cold Steve Austin to a bloody pulp, you know, I find myself, no matter how much I win, when I walk back to the dressing room, the way you American fans treat me across the United States of America, I feel like I lost. And you take a gutless creep like Stone Cold Steve Austin and beat him to a bloody pulp, even though he knows, and you all know, that he lost. You cheer him on the way back to the dressing room like he won. You know, it didn't just start right here. Let's go back to WrestleMania last year when I was the World Wrestling Federation champion. When that belt was around my waist, it's where it belonged. You cheered on a pretty boy like Shawn Micheals. And you allowed him to screw me out of the World Wrestling Federation championship belt. I found myself sitting at home watching the WWF on TV in Canada and saying to myself, the World Wrestling Federation needs a hero. They need a role model. They need somebody they can look up to. Not somebody that's got earrings all over himself and tattoos. Not somebody that poses for girly magazines.
quiet,
By the way,
man,
I don't
please.
think it was a girly magazine. I think it was a gay magazine. So I found this calling for myself to come back and set the record straight and clean up the World Wrestling Federation. So I came back in the Survivor Series. And I beat Stone Cold Steve Austin there, and I think I garnered a little respect. So then I found myself stepping in the ring with Psycho Sid, and your hero, your pride and joy, Shawn Micheals, cost me the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt. Nobody cared. Nobody did anything about it. You people didn't do anything about it. So they say, oh, don't worry about that. You can get in line with 29 other guys, and you can go in the Royal Rumble. But being the man that I am, I got no problem fighting 29 other guys. So I went in the Royal Rumble, and I won. I was the last legal man standing in the Royal Rumble. But again, everybody just turns their back on it. You somehow justify in your minds that Stone Cold Steve Austin won. You know, a better man would have quit. And maybe I should have quit and gone home.
You did, Bret. That's what you threatened.
I got Gorilla Monsoon and Vince McMahon on their hands and knees begging me to come back. Don't quit. Don't quit. Think of your fans. Well, I thought of my fans, and I came back. So they come up with this idea for the Final Four. The winner of the Final Four will get a World Wrestling Federation title fight at WrestleMania 13. That sounds good to me.
See a sign that says Bret's crying towel.
I come
Yep.
back,
Yep.
and all of a sudden,
That would pop up in Wrestling with Shadows.
your champion, your hero, Shawn Micheals, comes up with this life-ending, career-ending knee injury. And he forfeits the title so he can go home and find his smile. That's okay. You people think that that's just fine. I see everybody crying in the audience for that. You talk about me crying. So I go into the Final Four with the outcome now being whoever wins the Final Four will be the World Wrestling Federation champion. And who won the Final Four? I did. Right in the middle of the ring, I defeated 3 other guys in one night. I defeated Vader, I defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I defeated The Undertaker and became the World Wrestling Federation champion for a 4th time.
You know, here's telling the truth, McMahon.
Then they come up to me and they go, well, wait a minute. You don't get to rest. Even though you fought 3 other guys, even though you're beat up and sore, you gotta go in and fight 6'9" Psycho Sid and defend the title. Do you think I ran and hid? You think you went and found me forfeiting any titles? No. I put the title on the line. I took Psycho Sid and I tied him in a big knot right in the middle of the ring. There he was in the sharpshooter after being booed all the way through the match by my American wrestling fans. You somehow justify, only in America you can do this. Stone Cold Steve Austin climbs right up on the ring and whacks me over the back of the head with a chair. Somehow you justify that's okay. That's acceptable in America. So I ask, whereas you see it, I cried to Gorilla Monsoon, and I ask, and I beg, and I plead, and I say, give me Stone Cold Steve Austin. Give me a match with this guy that seems to be making my life a miserable hell. So I get Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they agree to a match, a submission match. And then they go, but wait, we've even got some better news for you. We will give you Psycho Sid in a 15-foot-high steel cage match. And nobody will be able to interfere in that. And you'll have your shot at the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt because we respect you. Well, in that match, outside interference played a big factor again. And somehow, for some reason, the Undertaker is out there, and he finds himself slamming my head in the door and costing me the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt for a 5th time. Yeah, right. So I got one thing on my mind. After being screwed over by everybody in the World Wrestling Federation, after being abandoned by all you good fans right here in the United States of America, I decided that I'm going to go into this submission match with Stone Cold Steve Austin and give him just a little bit of what he deserves. Just a good old-fashioned ass whipping. And so when I do it, when I actually take that lousy, stinking hyena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and beat him to a bloody pulp, you somehow find it in your hearts to abandon me and cheer for him.
The poison is spewing from Bret Hart.
I've proven myself so many times here in the World Wrestling Federation. And I've tried to be everything that you wanted me to be. But it seems to me that you don't understand. You don't understand what it means to have dignity, to have poise, to bring prestige to the World Wrestling Federation, to be a man that brings a little class. Because you'd rather cheer for heroes like Charles Manson and O.J. Simpson. Nobody glorifies criminal conduct like the Americans do. In all the countries that I go to around the world, they still respect what's right and what's wrong. Respect. Now that we've made everything really clear with ourselves here tonight, it's obvious to me that all you American wrestling fans coast to coast, you don't respect me. Well, the fact is, I don't respect you. You don't deserve it. So from here on in, the American wrestling fans, coast to coast, can kiss my...
Yo! Hitman!
Shawn Micheals, ladies and gentlemen, who joined us last night.
Let's get one thing perfectly straight. You can come out here and say whatever you want about me. Everyone does. And you don't have to explain to me or the World Wrestling Federation that you would never give up the WWF title, because no one knows better than me or the WWF that it takes a handwritten note from the Lord Almighty to get that belt from you.
Shawn Micheals is injured.
But Bret, what you don't understand is just because I come out here and choose to live my life openly and freely instead of putting on a facade like you does not make you a better man, Bret. I am well aware of my faults. I can admit them up and down the line. And as far as Steve Austin is concerned, Bret, I was there last night. He didn't give up. All right? Now, I'm no fan of Steve Austin's, but he passed out, and even you have to admit, somewhere in there's got to be some of the old Hitman left. Even you've got to admit that he is one tough SOB. Now, Bret, I have tried and tried and tried to take the high road. Now, I am in no shape to wrestle, and I know, you're tougher than me, blah, 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 the whole thing. I admit that, that's fine. I don't have to be number one, Bret. I don't obsess like you do. I do this because I like it. You do it because in your mind, Mark Man, you really think all of this is yours. Now, what you need to understand is that every time they reach into their pocket and pay money to watch you, me, or anybody else, they have the right to cheer or boo anybody they want. Now, hey, you don't have to tell me, they're cheering me now, but they booed me before, but you didn't see me get all bent out of shape about it. You want to know why, Bret? It's because in this country, we have something that's called the First Amendment. And that amendment allows us to live our lives the way we see fit, as long as it is causing harm to no one. If that guy there wants to stick a belly button piercing through his navel, he can do it whether you like it or not.
Let's call it freedom of expression.
Wait, that's just the nipple ring, though.
Yeah. Chooses to go out with someone that you don't approve of, tough titty, said the kitty, and she's gonna do it. Now, I don't want to get on my high and mighty roller coaster here, Bret, but you, my friend, have got to look at this. I'm in no shape to go, but if you want to go, what the hell? Let's go now.
Oh, don't tell me. Bret Hart and Shawn Micheals. Micheals is in no condition. He is in no condition to wrestle tonight because he's got more guts and brains.
Something?
Right.
We've got a saying in the United States of America, and it's called America. Love it or leave it.
Shawn Micheals, boy toy, I think you should go back to the dressing room. Just get the hell out of my face.
Uh-oh. You know me, Bret. I'm not real good with authority. By the way, how'd you know I was in that girly magazine? You couldn't help yourself, could you? You had to flip through the pages just a little bit.
As Jim Ross exits the ring.
Bret kicks Shawn from behind. Now he's setting him up for the ring post figure 4.
One of my favorite moves.
Lovely.
Looks so vicious.
Oh my God, Shawn is selling it so beautiful too. Referee's coming out to stop it.
this? Where you going, McMahon? Wait a minute. This is getting up. Where you going? Look at this. Bret Hart trying to wreck Shawn Michaels' leg. Bret Hart's trying to wreck the leg. Vince McMahon is over there. The officials are... Wait a minute, look at this. There's Psycho Sid. Psycho Sid. And seemingly, Bret Hart wants nothing to do with Psycho Sid. Bret Hart has done his damage. He has said what is on his mind.
So that happens.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think from this point forward, it gets more and more visceral. But I think that sort of encapsulated the differences between Hart and Micheals in terms of their characters, about as well as any segment you're going to find from this year. Couple things. When he calls him Markman.
When Shawn calls Bret Markman,
Yeah. Shawn calls Bret Markman, and it sort of plays into, how seriously Bret takes the business, and not that, Shawn just has a different perspective. I mean, once he's in the ring, he's one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots, but I think he's tapping into that idea that Hitman is taking this far too seriously. And also, it stops short of saying this, but sort of alludes to, like, Shawn says he does this because he loves it. And stops short of saying that, Bret does this because he feels obligated to, because it was his family, and that's what started him on this road. But I think sort of taps into that vein as well. But just a great segment. Yeah. Fantastic segment.
And it speaks in the shades of gray, everything. Like, they're both good guys but bad guys.
Yeah.
They both have rightful reasons to be upset with each other, and then you also get the fan reaction that's mixed.
Yeah, and I think this was like their attempt, and I think it ends up working pretty well, but this was them, really putting that nail in the coffin of the heel turn. I mean, there were still people cheering for Bret, in that first 5 minutes or so where he's just running down the last few months, but then when he finally, we get to that money line where it's like the American wrestling fans coast to coast can kiss my ass. Like, that seals it.
Yes, indeed.
That's a done deal.
After that, Bret comes out later for commentary for the Rocky Maivia and Leif Cassidy Intercontinental Championship.
Ooh, what a classic.
Yeah. Woo! He said, McMahon, before this, they do a recap of what just happened. And McMahon says, he thinks this is the end, or this is the beginning of the anti-hero era. Huh. Interesting.
Very.
So he then asks Bret, he says, have you snapped? And Bret says, he hasn't snapped. He opened his eyes. And then they do a clip backstage of Shawn Michaels having his knee wrapped up and walking out, getting ushered out. And then Bret says, you want to see bad? You want to see something really vicious? He runs into the ring right after the Rocky Maivia finish. He pins Leif Cassidy, no surprise. He runs into the ring and he hits Rocky in the leg and he starts beating him up. And then he leaves and goes up the ramp and he gets a middle finger on the way out from a fan. So
it's working.
It's working.
It's working.
It's going. Then we get episode 203 of Raw is War. This is March 31st, 1997. To start the show off, we have the WWF European Championship. And this is the rematch. This is Davey Boy Smith against Owen Hart. And it's a good match. Towards the end, they get a little back and forth. And Owen is staggering. And Bulldog goes to clothesline him. And he hits a chair. And then Davey Boy picks up the chair. And he's going to hit Owen. But Bret comes down and tackles him. And they separate Owen and Bulldog. And Bret gets on the mic. And he explains that this is exactly what the American fans want, is a family soap opera. And this is what they do. They try to exploit their family to make their own gain.
Yeah.
Americans don't care about families and family values. They've been making the Harts fight for years now. And Owen starts to cry.
He does. it's such a good shot. He tears well up, and I mean Bret, to his credit, is delivering this very heartfelt. It's one of his best promos.
It's beautiful. I would play it here, but I'm more focused on the storyline of the actual feud going on between Bret, Shawn, and Austin.
Yeah, but I was reading it over because I found a transcription of it, but he ends up paying it off with just like, Owen, look me in the eye. Nobody was there for you more times than I was. I want you to hear me, and I want you to hear me loud and clear. I don't care about these people. Not anymore. Owen, I love you. I love you.
So good.
And you could feel like the American fans like puking, but it's such good. And I mean, with that, the reformation of the Hart Foundation is well on its way.
Yep, they embrace, and they're in the middle of the ring, and it gets a mixed reaction.
Yeah.
There's some fans that are like, yeah. Some people are like, oh my God. And then later in the night, we get the Intercontinental Champion, Rocky Maivia. He's going against Bret Hart. And this is a dream match, one that you would think of, but it's not that good of a match.
Yeah, very early on in Rocky's career, and I mean, this might have been, I don't know if this is the only time they locked up on TV.
I think so.
Yeah. Not necessarily they caught each other at weird points in their careers, but still cool to see them have, shared the ring.
I think Bret was more conscious. He said this before, that he didn't want to hurt Rocky's push.
Yeah.
By putting him down.
Yeah.
And he said that Triple H and Shawn were okay with that.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, you gotta. Apparently Triple H has never really liked Rock, They always fought for the spot of the up-and-comer guy, and
every step of the way.
So Rocky Maivia does the comeback like Rocky Johnson, where he does those dramatic punches that would become famous as known as the Rock punches, you know. And then we get a clothesline and a vertical suplex and a fisherman suplex and a belly back suplex from The Rock to Bret. He's running the gauntlet on him, and they're almost running out of time here for La Femme Nikita.
Oh.
So the USA Network is
so many
pushing that.
So many teenage boys just, waiting with bated breath.
Did you ever watch La Femme Nikita?
I never watched it. I was very enticed by the commercials, but
Me too.
I don't think I was ever permitted to watch La Femme Nikita.
Yeah, I never stayed up to get that far.
Yeah.
Bret gets Rocky into the corner, ring post, figure four, and he won't break the hold, so Hebner calls for the bell, and it's about 10 minutes. And Stone Cold comes out, and he breaks the hold, and it's a 3-on-1 attack. It's Owen, Davey, and Bret on Austin. And the Legion of Doom come down, and they want the tag belts, so they're involved, and they break it up. And the Hart Foundation runs through the crowd, but at least to say the Hart Foundation has been formed this night. Yeah. This is good. This is a good story arc build for 1997.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, this is going to be a big, not just, because it involved, we're focusing mainly, of course, on Austin, Micheals, Hart and McMahon, but this was taking up a big part of the main event scene. You have Legion of Doom. We'll see Ken Shamrock, Goldust get involved, all sort of working against this anti-American heel faction that is now the Hart Foundation.
Right, and it's a good stable that this leader, Bret Hart, has behind him, because he has, instead of him being the babyface going up against a roster of monster heels, it's a roster of some good technician heels. Yeah. And they're going against a list of superstars, Yeah. So it's a better way of doing it.
Definitely.
In my opinion, I like that.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite runs of any faction. I still think the Hart Foundation 97 is my favorite faction of all time.
Nice. I definitely was obsessed. I think I had gotten most of the toys by this time. I didn't have Neidhart.
Yeah.
But I had Pillman, I had Owen, I had Davey, I had Hart. I'll have to bring them out next time.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we should have them on the table here.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I don't think I think I had all of them except for Neidhart too. I think Neidhart was hard to get a hold of. I don't know if they actually even went to make a 97 Jax Neidhart. We'll have to check and see if that's out there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know they definitely did a Hasbro.
Yeah, had that.
Well, yeah. There was that. Those toys are about 20 years old.
Yeah,
so
that's
crazy.
Yeah.
Moving on. Episode 204 of Raw is War. This is April 7th, 1997. Stone Cold Steve Austin has a match with Billy Gunn, and my autocorrect for my voice to text goes to Billy Gone.
Billy Gone, which at various points in his career out there, he was Billy Gone.
Yes, and it's short and sweet match, but as my autocorrect says, Stone Cold gets the stoner.
The Stone Cold Stoner.
Yes, indeed. I think I might have to steal that for my gimmick.
Yeah, that would work pretty well.
So he gets the stunner on Billy Gunn, and it's a huge pop for the win. Great. Stone Cold is coming off that WrestleMania loss, but he's still looking strong.
Yeah, building up some more momentum.
And Billy Gunn and Bart Gunn are unfortunately utilized as enhancement talent over the next couple months.
Yeah,
They're
not much
losing
going
to
on.
a lot of people like Mankind, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Gold Dust, all the key players that are moving up.
The glory days of the Smoking Guns are far gone.
Yeah, they're done. Then we get an ad for the WWF magazine. It's Bret Hart and Bart Simpson on the cover. Did you see this one?
I've seen like a brief clip of Bret's appearance when he's at Mr. Burns' mansion. So I haven't seen. I don't think I had that issue of the magazine, but I do remember that being a cover. And it's interesting because it was obviously produced when he was still still a face. So now it's
it's right before the turn that it was released, kind of. It's interesting. I remember seeing that cover at the grocery stores. I remember seeing the ad advertised a couple weeks on Raw. And that's on the season 8, episode 21 of The Simpsons. Nice. And I actually stuck around to watch that episode, but funny enough, that comes on the same night as the house show, the In Your House pay-per-view. So I had to watch that one. I didn't have the box at the time. I was still getting the tapes. So I watched The Simpsons instead, and then I played with my toys and reenacted what might have happened.
So I mean, you get to see a Bret appearance. You're playing with the toys. It's almost like a pay-per-view. Yeah,
and Shawn's always on commentary here and there on Raw.
Yeah, and
he says, "That's just like Bret Hart. Everything he does is a cartoon. Bret, it's not real." Jesus. Ripping into him.
Yeah.
And then Shawn comes out for an interview, and we're going to listen to this one.
Cool.
All right, Shawn Michaels, just a couple of weeks ago, the last time we saw you in Raw is War ring, you got in the Hitman Bret Hart's face. And you said to him, among other things, speaking, of course, of First Amendment rights, freedom of expression, you said, Bret, America, love it or leave it. And I guess maybe, at least temporarily, he's left it. Nonetheless, the result of you getting into his face was something I'm sure you did not enjoy. Last we saw you, you were wrapped around a ring post as a result of a figure 4. When Bret the Hitman Hart obviously attempted to disable you all the more. And if you would, give us some idea as to how far this set back your progress.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to, at this minute, I'd like to use my First Amendment rights out here on live television, if I may, to tell you and the entire world what is going on with the Heartbreak Kid. May I? Now, as far as last week is concerned, Shawn Michaels opened up his big mouth and got beat up.
Now, regularly, that would be a big deal. But if you're Shawn Michaels, that is like waking up, going to bed, eating your breakfast, eating your dinner. It's an everyday thing. I jack my jaw, somebody smacks me around, and we fight about it. That's how I make my living.
Bulldog and Owen looking on.
Now, was it a setback? Yes. When am I coming back? Not gonna tell you. But what I will tell you is this: Bret Hart has come out here time and time again telling the fans of the World Wrestling Federation that he wants to get stuff off his chest. And now I want to get something off of my chest. Everyone is asking, why is Bret Hart all of a sudden a bad guy? Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm not going to lie to you. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels loathe one another, whether it be out here or back there. Make no mistake about it, Bret Hart hates
Owen
my
and Davey
guts.
watching backstage.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, I hate his. Now, we're going to take the gloves off here. Bret Hart has not just recently turned into a bad guy. He has always been a bad guy. He comes out here and he talks about how there are no family values in America. How the World Wrestling Federation exploited his family. Well, I've got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. Bret Hart is the one that asked his mother and his father to be on TV. Bret Hart is the one that drags his sister and his children out on TV. The World Wrestling Federation exploits Bret Hart's family because he allows it. Now, and the reason he allows it is very simple: for Bret Hart's own financial gain. If Bret can make a buck, he'd sell his mother. That's the truth. Now,
Wow.
Bret Hart also has an obsession with Shawn Michaels and the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Last year, I won the World Wrestling Federation Championship fair and square.
He's right about that.
But I want to digress to 6 years ago, when Shawn Michaels first started his singles career and became the Intercontinental Champion. That's when Bret Hart also became the World Wrestling Federation Champion. I ran support to him. I told everybody, including himself and his family, that I supported him. I was second fiddle to Bret Hart for years here, and I did it with a smile on my face, because that's what a man does when it comes to business. But then, when it came for Bret Hart to return the favor, oh yeah, he did it, but he did it kicking and screaming every inch of the way. And then Bret Hart takes time off. He takes time off, he says, because he needs rest. What he did was take time off to see if Shawn Michaels and the World Wrestling Federation would fall flat on their face without him. Well, guess what? We didn't fall face flat anywhere. As a matter of fact, the World Wrestling Federation did the best business it has done in 6 years. You're the boss. Am I right or wrong? You're right. Thank you very much.
Wow. He asks Vince McMahon, "You're the boss. Am I right or wrong?" And Vince says, "You're right."
Yeah.
That's incredible.
With a smile on his face. I'm not sure by which metric they're going by there. One of their choosing, I'm sure. But yeah, that public acknowledgement of Vince being the chairman, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this first part of this Shawn Michaels?
It's eye opening. It's getting into the personal stuff with his family and alluding to, the fact that obviously his family is not being put out there, against their will or against Bret's will, that's, it feels real. And bringing up their past is, something that I didn't even remember back in the day. But yeah, bringing up the the parallels in their career. He's got some good points, and it's just really it's another step into that reality.
And we covered that in the prologue.
Yeah,
we did. These guys came up in different levels, kind of at the same times. They were the top stars. You had your IC champion and your WWF champion.
Yeah, in those early days, they were allies because they had to be. I mean, they're two guys with a similar body structure in a big man's world. So they were each other's advocates.
They only worked together that one run in '92.
Yeah,
just through the house shows, the IC stuff for the ladder, and then they did the world title match at Survivor Series, and that was kind of it. They were separated for a while.
Yeah, except for like that quick elimination tag at Survivor Series where Shawn just got the following Survivor Series where Shawn got brought in because Lawler had his own issues. But they after that they didn't really touch each other until WrestleMania 12.
Yep. So I'm gonna hop in here.
Cool.
Bret Hart's book. Every once in a while during this promo, it's almost over, but Bret the Hitman Hart, My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling. This is page 419, and he talks about the end of where Shawn turned to Vince, who'd be standing silently beside him all this time. "You're the boss, am I right or wrong?" Vince smirked and replied, "You're right." What else could Vince say at this moment? With Shawn on a roll on live TV. But the fact is that when I began my first title reign, the WWF was in the midst of the steroid and sex scandals, and the business dropped off because of negative press. Not because I was champion. In fact, I carried the championship during the darkest days of the WWF history, and any wrestler who was there at that time knows that. Vince knows that. I was told myself. So then we're going to carry on.
But Bret Hart, he sat in Calgary and passed judgment on Shawn Michaels. And he told everybody about my faults. And believe me, folks, I have got a truckload of faults. But I have never, ever lied about that to any one of you. He talked about my dancing. How can the fans of the World Wrestling Federation cheer a wrestler who dances, who has long hair, who pierces his navel, who has tattoos?
Sure that's not a nipple?
How can the fans of the World Wrestling Federation support something like that? Well, it's real simple. They liked it, you idiot.
And then Bret says, but every one of those comments I made was about his in-ring character, not about him as a person. If I'd been taking personal jabs at Shawn Michaels, I'd have talked about he was a drug addict and how insecure and neurotic he was. And I never did. As for the fans, male WWF fans left for WCW in droves when Shawn got the belt. And he was kind of right. I was watching the Cruiserweight stuff. I was watching the NWO. I was more interested in WCW.
Yeah, you have the birth of the NWO just a few months into Shawn's reign there. So, I mean, there was a distaste for I think for a certain segment of the audience with Shawn, but there was just it was so much going on in WCW that had a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah. Did you like WCW?
I would flip over here and there. I would follow it a little bit. I never really watched any WCW pay-per-views, except for a couple later ones. So I would check it out of curiosity, but I was not following at that point.
You're more a WWF guy.
Yeah, through and through.
Nice.
Now, but the whole time, I don't say anything. I go on doing my job. And Bret Hart, while he's at home, talks about his loyalty to his WWF fans. And that's ultimately what made him return to the World Wrestling Federation. Well, that is a load of horse shit. The reason Bret Hart returned to the World Wrestling Federation after using a rival organization against this man and the company that made him what he was. He stabbed the World Wrestling Federation in the back. Why? For his financial gain. Bret Hart did not come back to the World Wrestling Federation for his fans. He came back for the almighty dollar.
Bret says, Hogan, Roddy, Razor, Diesel, Kid, and even Kurt Hennig had all abandoned Vince's sinking ship. I stayed loyal to him and to the WWF and walked away from $2.8 million a year to take Vince's proposed $1.5. But did Vince say that? See, this is, to me, this is Vince cutting a promo through Shawn.
Yeah.
You know?
Just by letting him go.
And it's everything that has gained reality. This is Vince Russo and Vince writing the behind the scenes stuff, and it's coming to light now.
Yeah.
And Shawn Micheals is the one saying it. It's awesome. He's the greatest proxy.
Yeah, and this is well before the time where something like this would have been scripted. I mean, I think you go out there with some
you give him some bullet points,
and just let him go. And to that point, Vince standing there in the ring next to him, smirking, is just is an endorsement of everything he's saying. So, like you said, cutting that promo through Shawn,
right,
by proxy is it's a great point.
And it's awesome that these guys are doing it so well, because only few can have done that so well. And that's where WCW really failed. They started trying to make their booking like that.
Yeah.
And the guys were not following through promo-wise.
Yeah, they
couldn't back it up.
No, not at all.
Shawn and Bret are really shining through here. Austin, of course, is the star of it all with the promos.
Definitely.
Well, let's continue on.
Now, every time, what about me? I'll tell you about me. I got more people throwing money at me than you could ever possibly imagine. I am the hottest free agent in this business today. Every time I take a day off, every time I get hurt, my phone is ringing off the hook. But you know what? I'm not in it for the money because I got money. I do it because I think that is one hell of a man, and he deserves to have somebody work his ass off for him, and I'm that guy. Now, Bret Hart.
Shawn just joined the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Now, we're all wondering, why are you upset? Why are you obsessed with the World Wrestling Federation Championship? I'll tell you, I wanted to be the World Wrestling Federation Champion since I was a little kid. It was a dream. Bret Hart is obsessed with the World Wrestling Federation Championship because he was born into it. If Bret Hart wasn't a world champion, he would feel like he had fallen short. When he goes home to Calgary, he is still Bret the Hitman Hart, former World Wrestling Federation champion. Shawn Micheals, when he goes home, he's not the Heartbreak Kid, he's not Shawn Micheals, he's just plain old Shawn. Bret, you're the Hitman 24 hours a day. And the reason for that is Bret Hart cannot separate all of this from his real life. That's why he brings his family in it, and that's why he brings all his friends in it. Bret Hart is obsessed with being in the limelight more than I could ever possibly imagine. Well, Bret Hart, your obsession with the World Wrestling Federation title. And by the way, for you people at home, if you can't hear, there are various people here yelling this for Bret, yelling that for Bret. And my point is this. At one time, to hear all that, it used to upset me. It bothered me to hear the people boo me or say, we want Bret. But then I finally realized the fans of the World Wrestling Federation are allowed to express their First Amendment rights whenever they want. So if you want to yell for Bret, you yell for Bret. If you want to yell for Sid, you yell for Sid. If you want to yell for me, you yell for me.
Go get him, Shawn. Ass kisser.
Yeah.
I think Bulldog and Owen are very happy right now.
I am simply telling you people this. Do not, under any circumstances, let some wrestler, some superstar, come out here and tell you what to do. In our country, we can do what the hell we want. I do it, so you might as well do it too.
What a winner!
Very true.
on you.
You have a right as a fan.
Talking from his
Yeah.
heart, Hulky.
Just don't say you deserve it to everybody.
Whining and complaining.
A lot of World Wrestling Federation superstars have placed themselves as a role model or a superhero. Well, you know what? Everyone that I've seen has fallen short, has fallen way short. Moms and dads, I'm not a role model. I'm not telling you to have your children grow up to be like me. But what I am telling you is this. If you're going to plop your money down for your children to enjoy the World Wrestling Federation, rest assured that there is one guy that knows how much you're spending. And every time you put it down, whether you scream, yell, or boo, I am coming out here and working my ass off whether anybody likes it or not.
Wow. The original Stone Cold.
Yeah, definitely
And
warm
for you,
heart.
Bret Hart,
echoing, yeah.
your obsession with me and the World Wrestling Federation Championship will ultimately be, and I want you to read my lips, it will ultimately be your destruction.
How true that would ring.
That rings so true. So, Bret says, next I called Vince. Without a moment's hesitation, he told me that Shawn's behavior was inexcusable and that Shawn would be dealt with. Thinking back on it now, I'm astonished that I believed him. No one just went off like Shawn had done on TV with a rant without Vince orchestrating every bit of it. I mean, duh, Bret, come on.
Yeah.
Duh. I guess I just wanted to believe him. I asked him again whether he had any problem with our contract, and he retreated that he didn't. I reminded him that I turned down a hell of a lot of money to stay loyal to the company, and this was something Shawn should know. He agreed. How could Shawn have forgotten that I put the torch right in his hand? Question mark. Yeah, so we're digging deep here.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, definitely. A tough spot for the Hitman. I mean, I could see why he would, Vince is telling him what he wants to hear, and, I could see why he believed him. But, yeah, he's got a point there in retrospect that, Vince was standing right there. He could have ended that segment whenever he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And it was definitely orchestrated. This is all orchestrated. This is the greatest work of all time. It's so good. So, Bulldog comes out, and Shawn defends himself with the chair, and it gets kind of separated. So, it was supposed to be Sid and Mankind, but Sid didn't show up. Yeah. He had some softball matches to attend to. Or he was injured, actually. There was something going on.
He doesn't know shit.
So, they switched it with Bret versus Austin at the next pay-per-view. Tonight it's going to be Mankind and Steve Austin. And Owen and Davey are on the split screen, and they're pissed that Bret's match got changed.
Rightfully so.
Yes. So, Austin and Mankind, they have a decent match here. And Bulldog and Owen come out. And then the Legion of Doom come out, and they chase the tag champs all around, and then Austin takes advantage and zooms past everybody and hits Bret. And Mankind hits Austin, and then there's a big brawl, and it's leading into the next pay-per-view. Jimmy, do you have any old wrestling shirts?
When I was a young man, I had a bunch of very terrifically 90s wrestling t-shirts. I had one Kane shirt that was long sleeves, and it was particularly just terrible. But sometimes I wish I could find some of those old ones,
So do I. I had the Kevin Nash. He had the backwards Tupac bandana. That was too sweet. But I do know this awesome place. It's called thesavagestash.com. It's your wheeler and dealer for the best vintage wrestling shirts, merch, and everything in between. The absolute cream of the crop. Yeah. The Savage Stash.
The Savage Stash.
Savagestash.com. Newest thing I got was the fanny pack, man. It's awesome. It's neon orange, and then there's a neon green one. Yeah. What more can you ask for? It's got the logo that says the Savage Stash. Put all your good stash elements in there.
Yeah, everybody's holding on to one of these. I've seen pictures with Okada holding a Savage Stash fanny pack.
Kenny Omega, possibly?
Yes.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So good. Do yourself a favor. Buy the fanny pack.
Yes. Go on there. TheSavageStash.com. It's the cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah. Dig it. Episode 205. April 14th, 1997. This is a show from the U.S. and South Africa. Yeah. It's split up.
205, not live.
Yeah, not live. Do you remember this at all?
I remember bits and pieces of it. I've seen some clips from it.
Okay. So they're going back and forth from there. Stone Cold is in the U.S. with Vince McMahon in the ring. And they're in an interview, and Austin says that the WWF is finally giving him what he wants, and that's a rematch with Bret Hart. Because he could have beat him, and he didn't give up. He didn't quit. And everybody's holding him down in the WWF. But now it's his time. And then Bret's Hart time has come and gone. And he's going to leave Bret in a bloody heap. And that's the bottom line. And then we get a shot of Bret later from Kuwait yelling at some American fans. And he's saying that he's sick and tired of the people in America for cheering Austin and Shawn Micheals. And that's about it for this episode. Short, brief. Yep. So we're getting all these taped episodes. They're still not fully live yet.
Yeah. There's always those international tours after Mania. So this is in the midst of that.
Yes, indeed. So the next one is Revenge of Taker
in Your House.
Yes, indeed. This is April 20th.
Hey.
2000. No, not 2017. I have it as 2017 in my notes. Oh my god. Flash forward. 1997. Bret's already like got this knee injury, so he can't really do much. So this match is going to be a working style brawl with him and Austin. It's okay.
Yeah.
So Owen and Bulldog are out first, but they get chewed off by the refs, and then there's more brawling, and then we get a sharpshooter from Austin, and we get a sharpshooter on Austin. And Austin grabs the knee brace and hits Bret and bashes him in the face. And Bret's on his back. And then he applies the sharpshooter to Bret. That's Austin doing that.
Yeah, puts it on. He puts it on right this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it looks like Bret's about to tap. And then Owen and Davey Boy come out. And Austin gets put off by them and goes to the ring ropes. And then he goes back to the sharpshooter, and the referees and people are trying to separate the Bulldog and Austin and Owen, and Bulldog slides by with the chair and hits Austin with the chair, and it's a DQ.
Yeah.
So,
and this was for the was this for the number one contendership? I think
in some way, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a DQ. Austin goes right back for the sharpshooter. And Bret is in there, and nobody can pull him off. The referees come out, and they finally break it up. But that was it. That was awesome, though.
Yeah, it's a good match. I mean, obviously not going to live up to the WrestleMania Classic, but it's another example of the chemistry that those two had in the ring, despite the limitations with Bret's knee.
Right, and Bret comes away looking like defeated from this, like really defeated.
Yeah, so it puts that shine back on Austin.
Yeah. We'll go from a note from Bret Hart's book. When he got back home, he was gratified to read the Wrestling Observer on April 21st.
Unky Dave.
Reality break, folks. It goes without saying that in the ring, Micheals did a super job in 1996. However, let's rewrite history and say Shawn's reign was Hogan-like from a business standpoint, because nothing could be further from the truth. TV ratings collapsed in June of 96 on Shawn's watch, not Bret's, and reached company all-time lows for the rest of the year. Not just Monday night ratings due to Nitro, ratings across the board. Syndication died. Shawn's work in the ring can't be denied. But the buy rates fell through his reign, and it was during Shawn's reign. For the first time in the decade that WWF in both pay-per-view and TV ratings fell to a number 2 in the U.S. And when it came to house shows, while the WWF had a stronger year in 1996, its best months were February and March. And who was champion at that point?
Bret.
Okay. The summer was good, but there was a serious decline in the fall, at which point Vince threw everything he could to get Bret back, including promising him the belt. Let's not forget that there were numerous cases of Micheals throwing unprofessional hissy fits throughout the title reign in the ring. Bret says, I was still deeply hurt and pissed off. I had no idea what to do about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's no real black and white here because I mean, Dave, has a point with the ratings going down over the summer, but you cannot. There's no way that you can there's no way you can understate the importance of the NWO. That's July, right in the middle of that summer, and that just shook the industry. So that had a lot to do with it. But again, Shawn was very unprofessional. They had the whole program with Vader lined up. Mm-hmm. And he just refused to do business with him after SummerSlam because Vader works a little stiff. Yeah. So, that I think if they would have let that play out the way that they had initially planned to with, instead of Sid coming in for Survivor Series and Rumble, had Vader stick around in that main event scene, that could have been an all-time feud. Yeah. But Shawn, is playing politics. So everybody's at fault, but it's, at the end of the day, the business is nowhere near where it was when Hogan was around.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to continue reading around Bret's book. When I got home to Calgary, my doctor told me that my sore knee was serious. I needed surgery. They would have to do a scope and then shave the bone down in my knee, which could keep me out of action for up to 6 months. Even though I was protected by my contract in case of injury, I called Vince to let him know I'd do my best to be back as soon as possible. The week the surgery was scheduled, I was supposed to do an in-your-house match with Sid, but Vince told me Sid was injured too. He desperately needed me to do a match with Stone Cold instead, or the pay-per-view was in danger of bombing. Looking back now, I wondered about myself and the desire to please him at a significant cost to myself. It couldn't have been all about being worried about my livelihood. Without hesitating, I told him I'd schedule my surgery for after the show. In less than a minute, we formulated a new storyline in which Steve and I would carry on our war through In Your House and on to Raw's War the next night, where we'd square off in a street fight. Steve would injure, in quotations, my knee, putting me out of commission. I'd have the surgery to do my best to get back for King of the Ring in June. As an incentive, Vince promised me that if I came back in time, Shawn would put me over at King of the Ring. It was quite a thing to throw at me, considering that Shawn and I had sorted things out yet. We hadn't sorted things out yet. Vince told me he was grateful for my dedication, and that he too was fed up with Shawn. Really? Did he said that? But he was reluctant to discipline him. Maybe for the fear that Shawn would end up in the WCW with his old pals in the clique. Bow, wow, wow, bow, wow, wow. For my part, I offered to sit down with Shawn man to man and bury the hatchet. For the good of the company, I hung up the phone, relieved that everything seemed salvageable and that my position was still solid.
Again, Vince, to a degree, just giving him a little bit of lip service here. I mean, the idea that Shawn would be that quick to put him over at King of the Ring, which is, there was the Big Four, and then the King of the Ring was kind of like Big Four at Jace.
Yeah.
So it seems like a crazy idea, but it's what Bret wants to hear at this point of his career. So he's putting his faith in Vince.
Yep.
And Pops.
And good old McMahon. You can trust him.
Oh yeah. No.
Continuing on in Hitman's book. The First thing I did when I got to Broome County Veterans Memorial Arena on April 21st was ask Shawn to talk with me in private about out by the ring as a handful of technicians did some sound check. I told him I wanted peace. I didn't lay everything on him as being his fault. I listened without protest as he told me the morale among the boys was better when he was champion than when I was. I almost felt sad for him. He didn't seem to have a clue how wrong he was. Shawn said that his recent animosity toward me stemmed from my remarks about his knee, which he maintained was really hurt. What was I to make of that? Everybody in the dressing room was skeptical about his injury, so I referred to my own hurt knee. I conceded that it was hard to tell from the outside just how damaged the knee was. And it could be true.
Yeah, it's possible.
Once again, we agreed that going forward, we would clear any negative comments with each other before putting them out there for the public to hear. And we'd work together as professionally as we always had, aiming for King of the Ring in June, if I could make it back by then. We shook hands, and I felt good about it, and we were back in sync.
And they lived happily ever after.
We'll see. On to episode 206 of Raw is War. This is April 21st, 1997. Austin in the ring with Vince McMahon, and he's going to get a title shot at the next pay-per-view against The Undertaker. But he doesn't want to talk about The Undertaker. He wants to talk about Bret Hart. And he tells him to get out here, and they're going to have a street fight. And Bret Hart accepts the match. And says it's only because the U.S. audience wants violence. And he's going to give him that. And Austin is going to go straight to hell. Yep.
There you go.
Street fight doesn't start between Bret and Austin yet. Owen and Davey come out. But then Shawn comes out to even the playing field with a chair. And Bret tries to go for the legs of Austin. And he dodges, and he starts hitting Bret with the chair over and over, and then he puts him in the sharpshooter, and the refs try to separate Austin and Bret, and they go to a commercial. And we come back from the commercial, and Bulldog is helping Bret, and Bret was supposedly suffered a broken leg.
Yeah, looks pretty serious.
Yeah. And they put him on a stretcher, and Monsoon confronts Austin about his behavior, and he says he broke all the rules tonight. And
every last damn rule.
Yep. And he tells him to get out of the building, and Austin says nobody talks to him like that, but he's going to cut him a break, I guess. He's got to save face in some way.
Yeah.
The ambulance is back. We come back after a match, and Bret Hart is finally making it to the ambulance. But Stone Cold has commandeered the damn ambulance. Do you remember this?
Yes, this is a classic moment of this like early pre-Attitude Era. Austin gets behind the wheel of the ambulance, and true to his word, he said, "Bret, we're going straight to hell."
Yes, indeed. And he comes from the front to the back, and he starts beating up Bret. And Owen and Bulldog come out, and they try to stop him, but he kicks them away, and Bret even slides out of the ambulance.
Yeah. And the fans are eating it up. They're loving it.
It's awesome. And then Owen and Davey chase him off. The ambulance closes and drives off, and they vow to kill Austin tonight. Pretty severe.
Yeah.
So another ambulance altercation, and 20 years later, we're getting some similar stuff going on.
Can't stay away from those ambulance matches.
Actually, almost to the day is when they originally did the Strowman and Reigns ambulance first altercation.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So they're rewriting their stuff. They're going back and what worked then.
Going back to the well. There's a lot of good stuff to pull from here.
Then we get Austin coming back at the end of the night, and this is for ratings. so he can be there last, so nobody's tuning in on WCW.
Yeah.
And he says he doesn't want to be a role model for the kids. And then Micheals makes the save, so that, the Hart Foundation is fought off, and Austin's on his feet, and then Brian Pillman comes out.
Back from injury.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
He attacks Stone Cold.
Yeah, his old tag team partner, continuing their intense beef from late '96.
Yep.
Pillman's got a gun. That whole thing, and now he's aligned himself with this new Hart Foundation.
Yep. And Shawn Micheals comes and make the save, but yeah, that's the end of the show for that one.
It's intense stuff.
Yes, indeed. Then we had knee surgery for Bret on Wednesday, April 23rd. Episode 207, Raw is War, April 28th, 1997. This is a great segment to open the show. We have Brian Pillman out first, and he says that he's got a very good explanation for coming back and attacking Stone Cold. And he's a religious man, and he wants a speedy recovery for Bret Hart. And he asked for forgiveness for anybody who enjoyed the savagery and brutality that Austin's actions, and that the American society is terrible for that.
Yeah, and he does this, as you can imagine, or if you remember, in a very slimy sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of way, and it was just, oh man, Pillman was so good.
Yeah,
Pillman was so good.
And he asks God for the complete annihilation of Stone Cold Steve Austin, so he can never practice his evil craft anywhere else. And he wants the WWF to keep Bret Hart in their hearts and souls. And Steve Austin comes out, and they brawl, and here comes Davey Boy, and Austin leaves quickly through the crowd. And Pillman, Owen, and Davey Boy all start to pray in the middle of the ring. This is hilarious. They're praying for Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And Austin comes back with a damn axe handle.
That's right, yeah.
No axe head, just the axe handle. And he runs off the Hart Foundation. So then we see the Hart Foundation with Bret in a wheelchair. And he comes out for an interview. And he says that Shawn Micheals and Austin are going to be targets of the Hart Foundation. And he's sick of the American depraved society and the violence and the bloodshed. And they're going to get the best of the best. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And then we have an Intercontinental Championship match with Rocky and Owen Hart. And this is a quick little match. Owen is sneaky, and he does a spinning heel kick. And he crashes Rock off the top rope, and there's a superplex, and Owen flips out of the superplex into a rolling clutch and catches Rocky for the 1, 2, 3, and he's the new Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, so the Hart Foundation gets a little gold, and were Owen and Davey,
they're still
tied, so they get some more gold. Yeah, so they got,
and he says, "Look at all the gold, we're rich." Yeah. Then we get another Stone Cold interview, and it's Vince, and he comes down. He doesn't come down the ramp. Stone Cold doesn't. He goes through the crowd, and he's carrying a wheelchair and an axe handle. And he sits down in the wheelchair, and he's in the ring, and he calls out Bret, and he's basically, he's going to stomp a mud hole in them. And he's going to set the record straight that the only people he's for are the people that he looks in the mirror. That's him, yeah. And every morning, that's him. So he's going to be the WWF champion on the 11th. That's when he's facing The Undertaker.
Yes.
And then Bret's on the Titantron, and he says that Austin is going to be in an ambulance this week. The main event is the WWF champion, Undertaker, against Davey Boy Smith. They start to have a match, and it's about a minute and 49 seconds. And Owen runs down for the DQ. And they start putting a hurting on Undertaker. And that leaves Bret all alone. And Austin jumps the rail and helps get rid of Bulldog. And then once that's over, Austin grabs the WWF title. He's in the corner posing, and Undertaker heads back into the ring. And then they start, he throws the belt, and he hits Undertaker. And then he gives him the double birds and some cuss words. And then Owen comes in, and Undertaker slams Austin, sending him bouncing out of the ring, and then Austin sees Bret, and then before he can lay a finger on Bret, Jim the Anvil Neidhart comes back, and the refs take Austin away. But Austin's on the stage, and Bret Hart's on the stage too.
Yep.
And Neidhart helps by distracting, and basically Bret hits Austin with the crutch and sends him over the stage. So the EMTs and the stretcher are out for Austin.
Yep, and Bret's words hold true. And now, with Neidhart back in the fold, you have the fully reformed Hart Foundation of Bret, Davey, Owen, Pillman, and now the member of the original Hart Foundation, Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
The night before you had the week before you had Brian Pillman, and now Jim. So we're completing the package.
Yep.
Next episode, 208, May 5th, 1997. The entire Hart Foundation comes out. They start with a rant on the American fans, and Bret Hart says that he doesn't think Austin will be here because he's in a jam. And they have a new target, and it's Shawn Micheals. And Shawn is not being honest about his injuries. And he's going to come out, and he tries to hit them with chairs and everything, and they're going to settle the score. So, they're done with him. Most of the first hour we cut backstage to scenes of the Hart Foundation looking for Shawn. And then they even beat up a guy that looks like Shawn. He comes out of the bathroom. Then we get Shawn Michaels coming out for the top of the hour for Warzone number 2. And he's not trying to work against Stone Cold or with him. He's just trying to take out the Hart Foundation. And he's asked when he's going to return to the ring. And he says King of the Ring would work. And Vince asks us if it's going to be a match with Bret Hart. And Shawn gives us the love it or leave it ultimatum. And if you go back through the whole Hart Foundation, he's going to go through them. If he has to do it, he's going to.
One by one.
Yep. And then they come up on the Titantron, and they say an impromptu match with Neidhart. And Owen and Davey and Neidhart come out, and they try to have a 3-on-1 attack. But the Legion of Doom come out for the save. All right. So earlier in the night, Undertaker says that someone stole his championship belt, and he wants it back. Then we get the WWF European Champion Davey Boy Smith against Uncle Steve. My notes say Uncle Steve. And it's a decent match. Davey Boy telegraphs the backdrop, and he takes a kick, followed by a Stone Cold Stunner, and it's over in 8 minutes. And then Owen comes out, and they start attacking Stone Cold with the WWF belt, so they stole it. And then Shawn Michaels comes out for the save, and then the lights go out, and it's Undertaker, and he wants his belt back. And him and HBK clear the house, and HBK drops the belt, and it leaves Austin and Taker in there, and Austin picks up the belt, and Undertaker is certainly not cool with that. And then they end up, brawling all over the ringside, and it's a giant pull apart.
Yeah, and this is the go home for Cold Day in Hell. And so they do a good job here of, keeping that division of the Hart Foundation versus all of these top baby faces, but still maintaining the heat between Taker and Austin as well, leading into the pay-per-view.
Exactly. So we're at the pay-per-view. The Hart Foundation get a front row ticket.
Yeah, they cooped up some nice seats for themselves.
Yeah, and the pay-per-view's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's your standard in your house fare. But the main storyline is the Hart Foundation are in the building, and they I think they don't show up until the main event, so they keep cutting back to these empty front row seats throughout the card.
Yep.
And it's just building the anticipation for what's going to happen.
And then we have the main event. Yeah. What is going to happen?
Yes.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, he gets his WWF Championship shot against The Undertaker, and it's a great match. Well, it's a good match. They've had better matches, but this is one that will start off their feud. They've fought before on Raw, and it was a brawl and got ended quick. But
yeah, this is early on, and I mean not early on in Taker's career, but this was still in the time frame where he was not necessarily like that, ace that he would go on to be in his later years in terms of putting on a great match.
Yep. So towards the end, we have Brian Pillman trying to use the ring bell, and Hebner is dealing with him, and then Austin goes to take him out, the Undertaker out, and he gets a tombstone, which is reversed, and then reversed again, and Undertaker gives Stone Cold a tombstone, and we get the 1, 2, 3. And everybody in the Hart Foundation but Bret goes and attacks the Undertaker, and then Austin comes and flips Bret out of the wheelchair, grabs the crutches, clears house, hitting Davey Boy, and then Undertaker chokeslams Owen. Then we have the two faces standing off in the ring, and Austin gives Undertaker the stunner, and that's how we finish it off, and the crowd still pops for that.
Yeah, not a little early in the game. Austin obviously wouldn't be claiming that top prize for a little while, but again, Austin maintains that what he would go on to call that "don't trust anybody" sort of attitude, where he's putting himself up against the world, and it's a good ending, and it keeps everything going in that main event scene, and building towards pretty interesting summer.
Yes, indeed. Hey, Jimmy, you want to tell everybody about where we work on the side?
Absolutely. DCW, District City Wrestling.
And Jimmy, you're a commentator announcer there?
Yeah, I could call myself the voice of DCW if I was really feeling good about myself.
There you go. I like it.
And you've got a hand in it as well.
Yes, I do. I do some production media there, and I also wrestle. But check us out. You can find us on Facebook at District City Wrestling, or you can find us on Instagram at official DCW, or Twitter at official DCW. Check us out. Let us know what you think.
Hey guys, if you're into reading about pro wrestling and fans' perspective and fans' journey, check out my buddy Dan's zine. It's called Hot Tag. And he gets into his journey as a fan, and as well as bringing in some of his friends. I wrote a piece for the third issue, so he has that. Check it out. It's at hottag.bigcartel.com. It's good stuff. Get into it.
Episode 209 of Raw is War. This is May 12th, 1997.
Yep.
And you get this little intro here.
In 80 countries, in 7 languages, to over 500 million homes each week, the World Wrestling Federation, the worldwide leader in sports entertainment.
That's a sleeker little intro than what they were doing, instead of the voice of God saying the World Wrestling Federation for over 50 years. Yeah, it's a little bit more edgy on the visuals to match the
sports entertainment.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, so we have the Hart Foundation coming out, and Bret's mad. Basically, that the fans are upset that Austin isn't the champion, but they didn't give him the same sentiment when he lost his title,
Yeah.
So he's a little mad there. And he got screwed out of it. Later tonight, Stone Cold comes out with crutches, and he's in the ring with Vince, and he says one day he'll be the WWF champion, and he'll get that chance once again. And he's going to take care of the Hart Foundation, and he's going to take care of them like a snake. And usually you go for the head, but he's... No. He's going to start at the butt of the snake. He doesn't say the ass, he says the butt.
The butt of the snake.
Yeah. And if you were the butt of the snake, who would you be? Brian Pillman. So he says he's crippled him before, and he's going to cripple him again, and he carried him in his back pocket in the Bush League. Ooh. Oh, holy shit.
Burying Pillman and burying the competition there.
Yes, indeed. Then we keep getting Sable coming out for the past couple weeks, modeling the Austin 316 shirt. Do you remember this?
I do, yeah. They would do that with Sonny and not as much Marlena at first, but yeah, they would be, whatever the hot T-shirt was, they would be out there.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Then we get Rob Van Dam against Jeff Hardy.
That's right. Yeah, that continued cross promotion with ECW.
Yeah.
We're now in the May, so they've already had their big first pay-per-view, Barely Legal.
Mm-hmm.
That took place in April. So yeah, it's seeing Rob Van Dam show up on Raw, and this is when he started using obviously his moniker Mr. Monday Night, which would just get him so much heat in front of the ECW crowds,
right?
Because they hated WWF.
Yes, indeed. And it's a 2.5 minute match, though.
Yeah.
So, short but sweet.
Yeah.
But we'd later get some good stuff from both of them.
Definitely.
Then we have this from Bret Hart.
And we're back, everybody, here in the war zone. I'm ready for the surprise. Me too, Bret. What is it, Hitman? Bret's been talking about a surprise.
Do me a big favor and just shut up for a couple of minutes.
That's you, boss.
Even Bret's laughing at that.
He loves being a heel.
Yeah.
Okay, first, Hart Foundation, Ryan, Owen, Davey, Anvil. I want you guys to go back to the dressing room. Go back.
What?
Yeah, I'm sure about it. Go back. I can do this on my own. I want you to go back. Just go back to the dressing room. Let's go. Go. Time for me to be a man by myself. I can do it.
I don't think this is a wise move, Ross. It might not be. I don't understand this. Apparently the other members of the Hart Foundation certainly are not comfortable with being... Well, I guess now we've already seen Stone Cold Steve Austin throw Bret out of his wheelchair, a poor crippled invalid like that. What kind of man would do something like that? Austin did turn Bret over the wheelchair.
A poor crippled invalid. Jesus Christ.
Did you see that? Brian Pillman goes to fake hit a audience member and he scares the hell out of him.
Somewhere back there in the dressing room area. If you even think about coming out here, just remember that I'll have that pack of lions rip you to shreds, so don't even think about it. Just stay where you're at. Now, as for my little surprise, I just want to say, in person, face to face, I want that gutless little poser, Shawn Micheals, to get his ass out here.
What?
I know you're back there like everybody else, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like the rest of the world, and especially you pathetic Americans, back there hanging on every single one of my words. And basically, I'm calling you out to get your ass out here.
What do you want to do? Fight him? He's in a wheelchair. I don't know what he wants. Well, he's going to get his wish. Listen to the ovation for the Heartbreak Kid. I don't think there's ever been a rivalry that has been talked about as much worldwide as this issue between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy at all.
It's hurting my ears. Shawn Micheals, the boy toy. You know, there was a time when I just couldn't stand you. But now when I look at you, I realize that I hate your guts. And the reason that I hate your guts, to list all the reasons why I can't stand you and you make me sick. The biggest reason is, go ahead, take your jacket off. Make yourself at home. It symbolizes something, you taking your jacket off. It's like you're hot, you're cold, you're hot, you're cold. That's the story of your whole career. 1 minute you're hot and the next you're not. You know what bugs me about you is that it finally dawned on me. It's the way you dance around, you have this attitude, this arrogance, this cockiness. And it finally hit me. That's what you Americans all symbolize. You think you're better than everybody else. You think you can cop this attitude and look down at the rest of the world like you're better than us. Well, it's not true. It's not true at all. Because you're rotten through and through, all the way through to your insides. Just like America, craving your blood and guts and all your violence and crime on the streets. You love it. You love it all, and you hate it when somebody tells you the truth. And you hate it when somebody tells you the truth. We talk about rotting from the insides. It's just like ancient Rome. America, this great country that should be leading us into the 21st century, but instead, you're rotting from the inside, just like ancient Rome, and you're going to destroy yourself because you're being controlled and run by scum. Scum like this right here. You know, Shawn Micheals, boy toy. You ripped me off for the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt at WrestleMania 12. In a 60-minute Iron Man match. You screwed me out of that title, and you know it. And all you people stood by and let it go. You did nothing about it. So when I decided to come back,
Shawn has a navel ring
instead
in
of
his
facing
ear.
me like a man, you didn't have the guts to face me like a man.
Wanted to make sure Bret could see it.
Posing for girly magazines. Dancing around, kissing all the girls. Putting tattoos on yourself and earrings through your navel and your nose and your ears.
But they're all
Shaking
navel
your
rings.
ass and making yourself a horse's ass. A self-professed degenerate. That's what you are. A self-professed degenerate. And when you talk about role models, you led the World Wrestling Federation. You took that World Wrestling Federation Championship belt in a reign of decadence. You know, Shawn Micheals, the biggest thing that bothers me about you is that you didn't have the guts to face me this year at WrestleMania. You didn't have the guts to face me one-on-one. You go ahead and talk about all the things. You talk about my mother and my family and how I signed for more money than any other wrestler in the history of the World Wrestling Federation and how I'm controlled by the almighty dollar. Who isn't controlled by the almighty dollar? That's a bunch of BS and you know it. The $1 million question. That's what Vince McMahon said to you last week. The $1 million question. That's all it was, is $1 million. Well, Shawn Michaels, it shouldn't concern you what I get paid. And it shouldn't concern you whether I got my mother and my father and the rest of my family in the front row. And it shouldn't concern you anything that I do. What should concern you is whether you really believe deep down in your guts and in your heart whether you're actually as good as me. And you pathetic, sick, violent people know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep our cameras rolling.
That this piece of crap right here was never.
Yep.
Think so? Talk about family values.
And they go off air, so the fans watching
the
don't get to see this sweet chin music, which knocks Bret into and over his wheelchair.
Hart Foundation comes down, Pillman, Owen, Davey, Neidhart, chasing Shawn around the ring.
So I don't know who's to blame for this, but yeah, the show ran over, and fans at home didn't get to see this on that night.
They're beating Shawn down.
Yeah.
But eventually, Stone Cold comes out for the save. And that's where we're left off at the end of that episode.
What, again, another fantastic segment. And the obviously the meat of it is Bret getting to respond to that Shawn promo that we listened to earlier. It's interesting. He dusts off his grade 8 social studies here a little bit. And his critiquing of the United States, and he makes some, he hits on some real shit. It talks about, alludes to American exceptionalism, the idea that we're the greatest country in the world, and that belief, and we look down upon the rest of the world. So he hits some real, on some real issues there. The comparisons to ancient Rome, and then exactly. he segues it perfectly into his critique of Shawn Michaels as a human being, and it's just the crowd is starting to go for it. You get the Hitman sucks chants going very strong about halfway through that segment, and it's Shawn Michaels. It's great because Bret's sitting in the chair, and it's a wheelchair, but it might as well be like a recliner because he's like a grumpy old man. He's like, you go out there and you shake your ass, and he's and Shawn's just like sneering down at him, like it makes for a great dynamic for the segment.
No, you're absolutely right.
That pays off with the sweet chin music.
So, the next episode is 210 Raw's War. May 19th, 1997. Austin is out with JR for an interview. And he says the only reason he came out to save HBK last week was that it was because he wanted to beat up the Hart Foundation. And Shawn Michaels interrupts, and he says he doesn't like Austin in either way. He wants the Hart Foundation. And he's been around the WWF a long time. And Austin says, why don't you take your little bandana and go backstage before I kick your teeth down your throat? And then they get pulled apart. And Owen Hart comes on the Titantron laughing and says they're typical Americans. And if they can get their issues together, they can challenge the Hart Foundation for a tag team match. And HBK and Stone Cold could have a tag team title match next week. And then we go backstage, and Shawn Michaels is standing next to Ken Shamrock, and he doesn't want Steve Austin as his partner. He feels he can trust Shamrock. Shamrock says, you take care of Owen, and I'll take care of Davey Boy. And the whole show, we get Austin looking around for a partner backstage, and there's some funny bits where he's asking, like, Harvey Whippleman. And then we get the Hart Foundation coming out, and it's a big surprise for Bret to challenge Shawn Michaels in a match, less than 10 minutes. And if he can beat Shawn, he won't wrestle in the United States again. And then Shawn comes on the Titantron, and we have a beautiful, beautiful segment. We're going to just play this.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Vince McMahon, pleased to join you for the second hour here on the War Zone, along with JR and Terry the King Lawler, and yes, the Hitman Bret Hart has come to Mobile, Alabama, and we are live, and the Hitman about to spill the beans. What is the big surprise? Give me my mic! What are you thinking? I have no idea, McMahon! You're not joining the Hart Foundation, are you? No. Not it. I didn't think so. All right, here we go. No wheelchair this week.
Do me a big favor and please just shut up. You know, it's not too much to ask for. Americans are full of this freedom of speech and freedom of expression. But last week, the great American hero, Shawn Micheals, he wouldn't even allow me my right to free speech. To me, it's just typical that all you rednecks here and all the rest of the American scum coast to coast, y'all speak with a forked tongue because I have a right to free speech. Isn't that true? Last week, your great American hero proved that he's no better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he's going to take it upon himself to beat up on an invalid, a person that can't even defend himself. But I guess that's what makes him an American hero. Shawn Micheals, frankly, I could give a damn who you pick for a partner next week.
He's pacing.
I could care less.
Got the crazy eyes.
I don't know too many guys that even want to be aligned with you, because your days are numbered. But I'm going to cut right to the chase. Everybody wants to know, everybody around the world, my true fans around the world, and you scum in particular, who hang on every single word that I have. Y'all want to know what my big surprise is? Shawn Micheals, the boy toy. He's announced that he's finally recovered from this knee injury. And he's going to heroically come back at the King of the Ring. How quaint. Shawn Micheals, there's somebody else. There's a real hero and a real man that's gonna come back at the King of the Ring with a bad knee. And that real man and that real hero is me. Whoa!
That's ambitious.
Against everybody's heartfelt, kind, gracious considerations, the Hart Foundation, Brian Pillman, my family, and all the millions of cards and letters that I get from the rest of the world.
Millions.
They're all concerned about me
Millions
coming
of
back
cards at your house.
with a bad knee.
That's why he has a bad knee.
Shawn Michaels, I want to issue you a challenge.
Been lifting with him.
An offer that you can't refuse. I want to challenge you to a match at the King of the Ring. And if I can't beat you in less than 10 minutes, I promise that I will never, ever wrestle in the United States of America again.
What? Never wrestle in the United States again?
10 minutes.
Now, just before anybody gets their hopes up too high.
You know something? Hey, you talk about this freedom of speech thing. Last week you had all the freedom in the world. You talked so much, we went off air listening to you babble. But
He's got his Tupac bandana on.
Let's get to the challenge. Bret, last WrestleMania, you couldn't beat me in 60 minutes. What in the world makes you think that you can beat me in 10 minutes? I know what it is. It's that gang you got around you, you see. That's what it is. Because I know mano a mano, you wouldn't have a chance. But you know something, Bret? I want all your boys down there. I want your whole crew down there, Bret.
They'll be down there.
Oh, will they? Do I have that promise from you? Do I have that promise from you they'll all be there?
Where I go, the Hart Foundation goes.
Alrighty, well, I've got one little stipulation. Each one of your men must be handcuffed to a ring post.
Wait a minute.
That way, you Hitman and I can settle this thing once and for all. None of your goons jumping in, none of your excuses that we have heard for over a year. We are going to find out once and for all if Bret the Hitman Hart can get beat like a man. Because Bret, believe me.
Okay, do you notice that?
Yes.
Bret Hart is mouthing what Shawn Michaels says, not after he says it, but almost as he says it, like it's lines.
That's crazy. Yeah, I had never noticed that before.
Okay, I'm going to take it back for a
If
second.
Bret the Hitman Hart can get beat like a man, because Bret, believe me, you couldn't go 10 minutes in any situation, if you know what I mean.
Oh boy.
And
Listen here, Shawn Michaels.
even though lately you've had some sunny days, my friend, you still can't get the job done. A heartbreak kid coming off a knee injury, you coming off a knee injury, they're all handcuffed. Hitman, I'm gonna knock you down and drag you out.
Okay, so you're on.
What?
I accept. You accept. We'll put the Hart Foundation. You can handcuff him to whatever corner you want.
What?
And I got a chance. 10 minutes is all I need to smoke you, Shawn Michaels, or I'll never set foot in the United States of America with my wrestling boots again.
Bret
Whoa!
Hart,
Unbelievable!
Bret Hart, you can smoke me all you want. What you've got to do is beat me, which you cannot do. Bret, you, my friend, do not have a snowball's chance in hell of beating the Heartbreak Kid. Believe me when I tell you.
How about it? The Hitman Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at the King of the Ring. And the Hart Foundation handcuffed to the ring post? What's that all about? What is Bret thinking? Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Yeah. So I think that might be Bret's way of just gathering information. He's lipping what the other person is saying, but it seemed weird.
It did, and I mean, it might be a way of getting in Shawn's head and showing his predictability, but obviously we're going to get into the big part of that segment being the line that was crossed by Micheals when he alludes to sunny days.
Yes, indeed.
So with that as a not so subtle reference to Bret Hart having an affair with Sunny, Tammy Sitch at the time while he was married. And we had mentioned earlier in the episode that when you read from Bret's book, that they were going to clear these comments with each other. This was something that was not cleared whatsoever. And you can see it in Bret's face. Hart Foundation doesn't really sell it with the exception of
they look around, but they look at the audience to see confirmation from them. Like, obviously the audience doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, it goes over your head. I think unless you were a smart at the time, you're looking at the inside of the business a little bit, then probably went over most of the audience's head. But it was still it was a heavy incident and went over the line, and I don't think Shawn and Bret ever really recovered or gained trust back in each other up until 2010.
No. Bret says that Shawn was slurring his words, and he had a speech on TV saying sunny days, and was blatant suggestion that I had been sleeping with Sunny. And he had to go home to Julie and Stu, and they were upset about the Sunny comment. And he had to explain, Jim Ross phoned him at home and apologized upon behalf of Shawn's unprofessional behavior. And he's heard that line before. So it's going to settle the score. And he was brooding about what to do, and he wondered if he would beat the hell out of Shawn for real at the King of the Ring coming up or not. And basically, he was hurt really bad. And he decided to tell Vince that he would pull out of the pay-per-view because his knee wasn't ready. Vince had a plan. Stone Cold would finally catch him alone, flatten him out, bash the hell out of his knee, taking him out of the pay-per-view storyline, and that would be a clean win over Shawn. So we'll see if that happens. Later on in the night, Austin goes against Neidhart, and that's a terrible match, but Austin pulls Pillman out from the ringside commentary area, and they start brawling, and then the Hart Foundation come in, and it's a brawl schmoz ending. Yeah. And they get the upper hand, and then Shawn Michaels comes out for the save again. And next week, it's confirmed that they're going to go 2-on-2. It's the tag team of Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin against Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith for the tag team titles.
Yeah. Will they coexist?
Yeah, and this whole thing with Bret and Shawn is leading into the King of the Ring. Can we do it? Bret doesn't think he can.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. This is kind of the. This is a great little series here. This is the anti. We have the anti-hero in Bret Hart. We have the anti-hero and anti-establishment of Shawn Michaels. And then we have the anti-hero, anti-establishment of Stone Cold. They're all anti-heroes.
Yeah. Everybody's out for each other's throat. And, the era of clean-cut faces and heels is officially over.
Right, and they're shades of gray characters. They're coming together, and this is culminating. We're going to cut this one off right here. I know we said we'd catch up, but that'll be next week. I promise next week we'll be caught up to the July storyline of 1997, so we'll be retroactively looking back 20 years.
Yeah. And so once we're caught up with that timeline, which we will be this month, we're going to be going probably bi-weekly and looking at going deeper into each individual episode as the timeline progresses.
Because it builds.
It does, yeah.
The storylines get more in depth. Not that they are intertwined right now, because you have Mankind, Goldust, and Ken Shamrock simultaneously, and the Legion of Doom, all kind of working against the Hart Foundation in different ways. They're silent feuds, but they're getting intermingled. And that's the one thing about Vince Russo. He did have a storyline for everybody involved. Sometimes they got out of hand, but I liked it. Looking back on it now, it's like there's something going on.
Yeah, I think Russo, a lot of people have said this in interviews, Russo, when he was working with McMahon, McMahon was that sort of filter that, for all the wacky shit that he would come up with once he was sort of off the leash in his later years. Vince would take that and harness it into, you know, the gold that is, you know, here still to come.
That we're seeing and that we're going to see coming. So we're going to catch up. We'll see you next week on RetroMania.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of RetroMania. If you want to write into us, talk to us, you can at retromaniapodcast@gmail.com. That's RetroMania with a W, WRETRO, Mania podcast @gmail.com. And if they want to catch up with you, Jimmy, where can they reach you?
Hit me on the Twitters. My handle is at Jimmy_Price. So yeah, any ideas, any thoughts, send me a tweet, DM me, whatever. We're all about feedback, ideas, stuff you want us to bring up on the show, any questions. If I fuck up, please let me know.
Yeah, if we fuck up, if we are doing anything wrong, if we're doing anything good, if you want to share your memories about this time right now, if you want to share other memories as well, you can write into us. Please, we want to hear your feedback. As well as upcoming episodes, we're going to have some bonus episodes. Jimmy and I are going to bring along some guests, and we're going to look back, romanticize, wrestle with their fandom.
Yeah, and we're going to get a chance to look at, we're going to bounce around to different eras, because basically what we're going to do is we're going to bring a guest on and have them pick a match or two that, you know, really stuck out for them in either their, you know, years as a child being a fan, or like their early fandom. So we'll be bouncing around. We'll be looking at some different stuff. So it'll be cool. It's something I'm looking forward to.
Yes, indeed.
It's good stuff. Get into it.